At my father's milestone birthday celebration, my name tag bore the words, "The Letdown." My stepmother, Karen, chuckled. "Well, it's accurate," she said. So I stood, tapped my glass, and declared, "Here's a toast to the final time you'll ever see me." My father nearly choked. But the real surprise came when I walked out, leaving behind one last gesture. I'm 32, female, and if you ask my dad, he'd likely say I'm his greatest failure. Not because I'm a criminal, unemployed, or have done anything truly wrong, but because I chose to live life my way, not his. My father, Robert, thrives on control, appearances, and above all, family loyalty, provided it serves his interests. When my parents split, I was 10. The divorce wasn't messy, at least not on the surface, but my dad moved on quickly. Within a year, he'd married Karen, a woman with 2 kids from her previous marriage, Ethan and Sophia. That's when everything shifted. Initially, I tried hard. I was just a kid, eager to make my dad happy. Karen was sweet in that performative, overly warm way, hugging me too tightly in public, gushing about how we'd be besties. But behind closed doors, her priorities were clear: her own children. My dad, once a constant in my life, suddenly had new focuses. He became their father, not mine. It started small, missing my volleyball matches but never Ethan's football games, forgetting to pick me up from school while always being punctual for Sophia's ballet recitals. Then it grew. By 14, I was expected to babysit, do their chores, and act like the perfect older sibling while they faced no consequences. If I protested, my dad would sigh, as if I were draining him, and say, "They need more care. You're older. Act like it." Karen was blunter, calling me self-centered. The breaking point came when my dad emptied the college fund my mom had set up for me. My mom fought in court to recover it, but the damage was done. I was livid. I barely spoke to him my senior year of high school. When I left for college, funded entirely by myself, I only returned for occasional holidays. Our relationship never healed. Invitations to family events felt like obligations, not genuine attempts to reconnect. To my dad and Karen, I was the problem child who refused to play along with their perfect family narrative. Ethan and Sophia, meanwhile, were the shining stars. This brings me to my dad's birthday bash. Karen threw an extravagant party, the kind where she invited everyone they'd ever known to flaunt their flawless life. I wasn't going to go, but my aunt, one of the few relatives still in my corner, persuaded me. "Just show up for a bit," she said. "Things might be different." They weren't. The moment I arrived, I felt that familiar heavy tension. Old acquaintances offered polite smiles but didn't engage. I spotted my dad across the room laughing with friends, but when he saw me, his smile wavered like he hadn't expected me to show. I was already second-guessing my decision when I noticed a table with name tags near the entrance. Karen loved these, claiming they helped people mingle. Most tags were standard: Aunt Linda, Cousin Sarah, Neighbor Mike. Then I saw mine, and my heart sank. Below my name, in smaller print, it read, "The Letdown." I froze, staring at it. Across the room, I heard Karen's laugh. She was watching me, wine glass in hand, a smug grin on her face. My grip tightened on the tag, anger surging. This wasn't going how she expected. I stood there clutching the tag, my mind racing to process it. Was this a cruel prank? A mistake? Then I heard Karen's laugh again, sharp and deliberate. I looked up, and our eyes locked. Her smirk confirmed it. She'd done this on purpose. A few guests noticed me standing there, their glances cautious, as if waiting for me to cause a scene. I could almost hear their unspoken plea. "Don't ruin this." I took a deep breath and set the tag back on the table, aligning it neatly with the others. For a moment, I almost laughed. Of course she'd do something like this. It was pure Karen, subtle enough to deny, but sharp enough to sting. If I reacted, I'd be the problem, just as she wanted. I should have left right then. But I didn't. My aunt touched my arm, her face tight with concern. She'd seen the tag. Her eyes flicked toward Karen. "Are you okay?" she whispered. I forced a smile. "I'm fine," I said, but I wasn't. I was bone-tired, tired of this game, this family, this constant reminder of my place. But instead of walking away, I decided to play their game differently. I smiled, a calm, unbothered smile, grabbed a champagne flute from a server and tapped it lightly. If Karen wanted a performance, she'd get one. I raised my glass slightly, feeling the room's attention shift toward me. Karen's smirk faltered for a moment, her wine glass pausing mid-sip as she tried to read my move. I let the silence linger, building the tension, before turning away and weaving through the crowd. I wasn't giving her the reaction she craved, not yet. The party was exactly as I'd expected, lavish, overdone, with gourmet food and meticulous decor. Karen had pulled out all the stops, not just to celebrate my dad, but to showcase her perfect world. It wasn't about love, it was about image. Ethan and Sophia were the center of attention, as always. Sophia was holding court, gushing about her upcoming wedding. "Dad's covering everything," she said, flashing her sparkling ring. "We want something classy, not some cheap, trendy mess." I stifled a laugh. Sophia was always so calculated, just charming enough to keep the spotlight on her without seeming too obvious. Ethan, meanwhile, lounged by the bar, basking in praise for his new job, one I was sure he hadn't earned. Every door had been opened for him, every misstep, quietly fixed by my dad. I considered joining their conversation just to make them squirm, but then I heard my dad's voice. "Well," he said, approaching me, his drink in hand, his face carefully neutral. "Didn't think you'd show." I gave a tight smile. "Wouldn't miss it." He nodded, glancing around before settling his gaze on me. "Heard you've been busy?" It was his usual vague way of avoiding real questions about my life. I nodded. "Yeah, work's going well. Bought a place last year." His eyebrows twitched. "A house?" "Yep." He sipped his drink, saying nothing more. That was my dad. Uncomfortable with any proof I wasn't the failure he expected. Before he could pivot to some subtle jab, Karen swooped in, her smile sharp. "Well, at least she's finally done something worthwhile," she said, her tone dripping with fake pride. The heat in my chest flared again. I turned to her and she beamed, as if she hadn't just insulted me. I knew that look. Karen's specialty was cutting you down while playing innocent. If you reacted, you were the one overreacting. I should have let it go. I should have walked away. But I was done. Something about that night, the name tag, my dad's dismissive tone, the room full of people who'd never been my family, pushed me over the edge. I tilted my head, meeting Karen's gaze. "You know, I was going to ignore it," I said, my voice light but firm. "But I'm curious. Who came up with the name tag?" Her smile flickered just for a second. "Oh, please," she laughed. "It's just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." I nodded. Right. Hilarious. She shrugged, sipping her wine. "If you weren't always so upset, maybe you'd—" I raised a finger, cutting her off. "Actually, you're right." Her eyes narrowed. "About what?" "About the joke," I said, turning slightly, raising my glass. "Because I've got one too." Her expression shifted, uncertain. My dad stiffened beside her. I smiled, slow and deliberate. "I'd like to make a toast." The room hushed, conversations fading as curious eyes turned my way. People love a toast, especially an unexpected one. Karen let out a nervous laugh, trying to dismiss me. "Oh, you don't need to—" I raised a hand, cutting her off. No, I insist. The room went quiet, the weight of their attention settling on me. Karen's smile was brittle now, her fingers tight around her glass. My dad's jaw clenched. He knew me too well. I raised my glass higher. To my father, I said, my voice clear and steady. And to Karen, of course, because without them, I wouldn't have learned one of life's hardest lessons. I paused, taking a slow sip of champagne. Karen let out a small, forced chuckle. Oh, here we go. A few guests laughed, expecting something light-hearted, maybe self-deprecating. They thought I'd smooth things over like always. I smiled wider. No, really, I mean it. We learn the most from those who test us, don't we? Here we go. A few guests laughed, expecting something light-hearted, maybe self-deprecating. They thought I'd smooth things over like always. I smiled wider. No, really, I mean it. We learn the most from those who test us, don't we? I turned to my dad. You always said family should lift each other up, support one another's victories. His grip on his glass tightened, his throat bobbing. And I believed you. I really did. But somewhere along the way, I realized something. The room was silent now. Karen's smile was a mask, her knuckles white. I set my glass down gently. I realized that for some, support only comes when you fit their mold. As long as you play the part they've assigned, whether it's the star or the screw-up, they'll keep you in your place. But step out of line. I gave a sharp exhale, shaking my head. That's when they show their true colors. A few guests shifted uncomfortably, glancing at each other. Sophia stared at my dad, waiting for his cue. Ethan smirked, like this was just a show. Karen's smile didn't waver, but her eyes were cold. I used to think if I proved myself, worked hard, succeeded, followed the rules, you'd see me differently, I said, my voice softer but unwavering. But I get it now. It was never about me. It was never about what I did or didn't do. Karen opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. I turned back to my dad. Because I wasn't supposed to succeed, was I? His face flickered, just for a moment. I let that sink in. But I did, I said, standing taller. I built a life for myself, one that has nothing to do with this family. And it's been the most liberating thing I've ever done. The room was still, guests exchanging looks, unsure what to make of this. Karen laughed again, sharper this time, trying to take back control. This is absurd. It's just a name tag. I turned to her, my voice calm. You're right, it is. But it's also a lifetime of moments like this, little jabs, little reminders that I'll always be the letdown to you. My dad finally spoke, his voice low. That's enough. I met his eyes. You're right. It is. I raised my glass one last time, the room hanging on my words. To the last time you'll ever see me. The silence was absolute. My dad froze. Karen's jaw twitched, her smile gone. Someone in the back whispered, "What did she say?" Without another word, I set my glass down, turned, and walked toward the door. Their eyes followed me, a mix of shock and unease. This wasn't like before. This was final. As I stepped outside, the night air hit me, cool and sharp. I took a deep breath, feeling lighter with every step. I'd done it. I'd cut the cord I should have severed years ago. No more pretending, no more chasing approval from people who only valued me when I fit their script. I drove home in silence, the weight lifting with every mile. But as I sat in my quiet apartment that night, a small part of me wondered if I'd gone too far. Had I been too harsh? Too dramatic? The next few days were a whirlwind of ignored calls and texts. I stayed off social media, knowing it was buzzing with the aftermath. I'd walked out on my dad's big day, called out him and Karen in front of everyone. The family chat exploded, but I didn't respond. My aunt texted, asking if I was okay. I told her I needed space. She didn't push. Then my dad called. "Where are you?" he asked, his voice heavy with that familiar disappointment. "At home," I said. "And I'm not coming back." Silence. "You can't just walk away like this," he said after a pause. "Family sticks together." I didn't hesitate. "Not if it means pretending to be someone I'm not." That was our last conversation. Weeks passed, and I skipped every family event, weddings, birthdays, all of it. Some relatives sided with my dad and Karen, others acted like nothing happened. I heard my dad was hurt, Karen was livid, and Ethan and Sophia thought I'd overreacted. But it didn't faze me. I was living my life, thriving. And though cutting them off wasn't joyful, it brought a peace I hadn't known in years. I haven't spoken to them since. So I'm asking, was I wrong to walk out like that? To make that toast and cut them off completely? Did I go too far, or was this long overdue? I know I'll never have my dad's approval. I'll never be the daughter he wanted, but maybe I finally realized I don't need to be. So tell me, was I out of line, or was this justified?